When you think of the 1960s, you think of Peter Max. Hi, I'm Wade Lawrence, Museum Director and Senior Curator at the Museum at Bethel Woods. I'm standing in the exhibit Peter Max Early Paintings that brings together two collections of paintings from Peter Max's early career. You see in this exhibit the change from his early representational work to his later cosmic period. Max's art took a big change in direction in 1967 when he met the Swami Satchidananda. Now you may know that name from the Woodstock Festival. The Swami was at Woodstock and blessed the crowd on Friday afternoon. Peter had met the Swami sometime earlier than that. Swami Satchidananda taught Peter Max about meditation, about yoga, about Eastern mysticism, and Peter's artwork immediately changed. Peter's artwork now featured cosmic ideas of love, peace, internal discovery. Peter talks often about the philosophy of Swami Satchidananda. The Swami wasn't teaching Peter anything. The knowledge was already within, and the Swami was only teaching him how to discover that knowledge that was already within him. And you'll see that same theme in many of the paintings that Peter Max did. He invited the Swami to his New York apartment, where Peter introduced the Swami to all the intelligentsia of New York City, bringing yoga into popularity in the United States. He helped the Swami create Integral Yoga Institute, which exists today to promote yoga in America. Often when you think of Peter Max, you immediately think of Yellow Submarine, the Beatles movie. But of course, Peter Max did not do the Yellow Submarine. He didn't design the characters and he had nothing to do with the project. But even Peter himself sometimes acknowledges that that was his idea because, of course, his artwork very, very strongly influenced the creators of Yellow Submarine. It wasn't really practical to think of the Beatles performing at Woodstock. They had just finished Let It Be and they had just started Abbey Road. They were kind of going through their own little divorce at the time. They were doing their own private projects. And of course, John Lennon couldn't get into the United States. He couldn't get a visa. Apple Corps did want to have a presence at the Woodstock Festival. They asked Michael Lang if they could set up a booth and display their products and talk about their past projects, current projects, future projects. They had a film that they wanted to show at the festival. They were requesting a screen and an evening showing time. And they were also offering a thing that they called the Plastic Ono Band. But it wasn't a musical act, it was an art installation of plastic cylinders and stereophonic music. They also asked if two of their performers could play at Woodstock. Billy Preston and his band, and a young new artist that Apple had just signed and recorded, James Taylor. And of course, the letter from Apple to Michael Lang got lost in the mix just as Woodstock Ventures was moving the festival from Wallkill to Bethel. Michael didn't see it until after the fact, and that's why the Beatles weren't at Woodstock. I think there's some artists, current artists, that would have played well at Woodstock. The obvious ones that come to mind are the big stadium bands anyway, the U2s, the Bruce Springsteens. But I also think that the audience's musical tastes have gotten broader. So I'm thinking that some of the Beyoncés and Jay-Z's and Lady Gaga's could also be very appropriate for a Woodstock. And it's funny, a lot of the softer, folkier groups played well at Woodstock. You wouldn't have thought that Joan Baez or Melanie would have had the voice to carry this entire field, but they did. So I'm thinking that the doors are wide open. One of the lasting impacts of Woodstock is on the music industry itself. The music industry at Woodstock realized that there is a large audience for this music, and that there's a large audience not just for the recorded music but also for the performances. Of course, the Beatles had played Shea Stadium, Candlestick Park, a lot of other large venues, but they had the house PA. They didn't have great sound systems. And at Woodstock, there was a custom-made sound system for this venue. And there was attention paid to having great sound over a large area for a large crowd. I think nostalgically, peace and love will be an enduring legacy, but I don't think that's the important enduring legacy. Peace and love basically got discredited shortly after Woodstock. Altamont and so many other things, Watergate, you name it, our optimism, our naive outlook that things we did mattered kind of fizzled away in the 70s and 80s. But I'm seeing it come back. You look at the Me Too movement, that's empowerment of a first-rate scale. And that's directly a result of the 1960s and what Woodstock represented. The Parkland students that are standing up for what they believe in, whether you believe their cause or not, they are definitely being heard. They're articulate, and they're using the same tactics, the same techniques that were pioneered by Martin Luther King, by the great leaders of the 1960s. So I think the lasting legacy is people being heard. And either that's through the music that they express, the causes that they support, or what they speak to power to communicate. And the lasting legacy has to be standing up for right. Woodstock isn't just about those 3 days in 1969. Woodstock is a feeling that lives today, and it lives in a lot of people's hearts. We hope that young people will look at the legacy of the 1960s, the legacy of the Woodstock Festival, and ask themselves, what do I want from the world today, and how will I get that?